I want to tell you about my dream that I had about Donald Trump. Welcome to Trevor's Tarot, Astrology, and Spirituality. First off, a huge thank you to everybody who's subscribed to the channel. Thank you for your liking the videos, watching the videos, sharing the videos, hyping the videos, and watching the videos all the way to the end. This is what helps spread the videos to more people and which makes the channel grow. And so for that, thank you, thank you, thank you. Some of you have asked about the uh, channel that I'm going to do with my friend Anne, where we're going to talk about rituals. I'm going to post a link to that channel. Anne and I will be posting our first video either later today or tomorrow, probably at the latest. So go ahead, check that out, subscribe to that channel. Uh, that'd be fantastic. Okay, so this dream was weird in the following sense. The dream was from the perspective of Donald Trump. So I wasn't dreaming as an observer, but I was dreaming as, I mean, I guess kind of. I was dreaming as if not that I was Donald Trump, because that's not true, but it's like I was looking through his eyes. And and when I realized I was dreaming, so it was a very lucid dream. And I could see this big, it's like I was standing there going about my day, yada yada yada. The lighting was normal. And then all of a sudden you start seeing the shadow creeping towards me, and then the shadow gets really large. And then there's like this image of uh some sort of large creature like thing that just really dwarfs. So I drew a sketch. I'm terrible at drawing, so please don't judge my drawing. But it kind of looked like that. So like that's Donald Trump down there, and then there's this big ominous picture person like looking down and the shadows casting. And I instantly felt fear like I've never felt fear before. Except for it wasn't my fear, it was his fear. So um that was unusual. Now, I do think that he is under some spiritual attack. I do think that he's being haunted. I do think there's all of these things, but this seemed different. This almost seemed like, the Hollywood version of I made a deal with the devil and the devil's coming to collect. And I don't necessarily subscribe to that dogma of there being a literal devil. I do think there are spirits that are not human. Um, but this was really bizarre, and it felt like a looming doom, as if something was really bad was about to happen, and as if there was no escaping it. It felt like a debt that needed to be repaid. It felt like an obligation. It felt like he knew it was coming, but the fear that he felt, which I felt, was so intense. Um, like just it was extremely intense. Like I could tell when I woke up a few, probably 10 minutes later after this dream, that I had been clenching my teeth. Right. It was that intense. And I'm not a teeth clencher. That's not something I normally do. So so my jaws are a little bit sore. So I want to throw some cards to just see, is he uh, under some sort of spiritual attack? What are we supposed to know about this dream? Um, and kind of go from there. So let's just kind of see, what are we supposed to know like about this dream? Are we just supposed to ignore it? Is there some truth to it? It was very lucid, and when I have lucid dreams, they're usually pretty um good omens of things. Now, I'm not saying this is literally going to happen. Um, but I think the idea that, perhaps death is coming towards him and he knows that at the end there's something bad, that would seem like a reasonable interpretation. Um, this idea that, I'm sure we've all been in situations, where I remember a time driving on some icy roads years ago when I was young, and it's like, just please let me get home safe. Please let me get home safe. Where we beg, plead, pray, whatever to whomever. Um, I guess we don't need to pray or plead or beg to something benevolent. So is he doing this to something that's not malevolent or not benevolent? Excuse my slip up there. So what do we need to know about this tree? It was very intense. And the eyes were um were black and sullen on the creature, but behind there was like, you know, not flames, that's too strong, but it was a very bright, intense, like oranges and reds. Um, and then the creature itself you couldn't really make out other than the eyes because it was like just like it was the shadow. It was like there's a bright light behind, and the shadow just was creeping forward until eventually it engulfed him. And even though the creature was still some distance away, the shadow was covering where he was. Well, speaking of deals, we get the Two of Cups. Certainly possible that some sort of deal or plead or partnership was formed here that we would probably consider to be not really above board. Not evil's probably too strong a word. And again, this is just a tarot reading. I could be right, I could be wrong. These are just my impressions. Do your own research, certainly. We get the Queen of Pentacles. This feels like a very protective energy. And I think that this energy probably was protective at one time. I think it's changed. It feels like it's not. It does feel kind of like that made a deal with the devil type of scenario. And we get the Ace of Wands, this new fiery type of beginning. You know, this often is my card for, what will happen after he passes with who will be leading the country. But, in this case, it really does feel like fire and brimstone, right? Now, I'm not a big believer in those interpretations of the afterlife, but not every passing is pleasant. Not every life review or whatever you want to call it is pleasant. And I don't think his will be. And I think that's what this is telling us. I think he's very scared of death. He's very scared of death. Now, when people are scared of death, sometimes that can prolong their lives past a certain point. Obviously, nature catches up with you eventually. But um, there's a deep fear here that he has of death. It's deep. And I don't think I really fully comprehended that until I had this dream and then I started meditating on it and I just thought, he's really scared of dying. Um, Now most people have a little bit of fear, right? That's normal. But to have like a dread and like a palpable, make your, pulse increase and sweat from your brow, this type of, that's not really normal. That's pretty indicative of you thinking that you've done something terrible in this life. Here's the pleading to the heavens, the Queen of Cups. And the truth is going to come out, the Ace of Swords. I think this is why he is so scared. And again, these are my psychic impressions, my tarot reading, my it's just for entertainment. But the Ace of Wands and the Ace of Swords, all in the same column of the near future. He's scared the truth is going to come out about everything he's done in this life, and in particular after his death, because he knows after his death he can't control anything, or so he thinks. Now, I don't think he'll be able to because I don't think he's that spiritually advanced, but people can communicate after death, right? There's certain things spirits can do. Um, the World card, which is the end of his life cycle, and the Ten of Swords, complete and utter downfall. I think this is a symbol that he's going to have a huge fall. I would say fall from grace, but I don't think he's ever been in grace. So, um, but a huge fall. And then we get messages coming forward, almost like a death's due. So it's like there's some sort of partnership formed. He's kind of pleading to get out of it, but it's coming. It's just coming. Now, I think, of course, this creature is a metaphor. I don't think it's meant to be taken literally. This happens at the end of his life cycle. He's pleading and begging that he doesn't end up in this new fiery reality, which I think is his version of hell. In the environment around, things were quite stable at one time. And now he just has a huge amount of anxiety, which is leading to this downfall. Notice we go from the Nine of Swords to the Ten of Swords. So there's a progression towards the end. And what's he worried about? He's worried about the truth, the Ace of Swords, which in some sense follows the Ten of Swords if you follow the cycle. The 10 being the end and then the ace being the beginning. Uh, he's very ill, the Four of Swords. He knows people don't like him. The Four of Wands, people will celebrate his passing. He's very concerned about judgment after the fact. This is why he has anxiety around death. Uh, Now, most of us don't have that much anxiety around death. It's not like we're looking forward to it, but we don't really have that much anxiety about it. So let's ask just one more question here of, you know, um, is he under some sort of spiritual attack? Now, I have always seen images of people with voodoo dolls of him, which is a spiritual attack. I've always seen Ivana around him and millions of people that died from COVID around him. I've seen some of Jeffrey Epstein and Virginia Jeffrey around him as well of late, and it seems like I've seen Fred Trump and around him as well, um, and his brother that passed. These usually happen when people are close to the end. Like the typical person, when I scan them, I don't see passed over loved ones unless there's a message for them. But this is more like they're waiting to tell him what a loser he is, so to speak. Um, so is he under spiritualism? I think there are huge proportions of the population that are ready for him to go. This is not a normal thing that humans do, but in this case, I think that's the case. Yeah, abusive power, the Emperor card. Why would he be under spiritual attack? Because he's abusing his power. He's an abusive person. The Wheel of Fortune. The fates are turning. He took a gamble, and it looks like he's going towards the darker side of an end. The Four of Cups. There really isn't anything he can do about it. It has to do with, for entertainment purposes only, I could be right, I could be wrong. A lot of it has to do with Epstein. This is one of my cards that represent that just because it's one of the few cards that have younger people in them. At the center of the reading, he's got some protection, um, which makes me wonder if the shadowy figure isn't part of it. The protection from all the spiritual attacks makes me wonder. But he's getting ready for a new reality, a new beginning, um, especially around his health. All the deceit, all the deception, it's coming back to haunt him. I mean, he's literally being haunted. I think that's safe. There was a video, and it just popped into my head. I can see the images in the scramble. There's a video from a few weeks ago where he's walking off stage, and then there's this twitch in his neck. It is like his neck does that. It almost feels like he was tapped on the shoulder by somebody. Um, Justice is coming. You can't go through life with all of this bad karma and expect no consequences. And here's this fiery new reality again. I think he's going to have a very unpleasant life review. He's abused power. He currently has a little bit of protection, but it's only for a little while. And then he ends up in this fiery new reality. All the deceit and deception, he's had protection from it. We've seen it ourselves. We're wondering why he hasn't been prosecuted. Um, and he's growing tired. He knows the end is near. The Wheel of Fortune, he took a gamble. It's literally kind of made a deal with the devil, so to speak. I think a lot of this has to relate to Epstein stuff and money. But ultimately, the universe gets the last word, and the last word is always justice. So, yeah, I think he's under spiritual attack. I think he was illusional and delusional in his youth that he could get away with these things. I think he's in for a big surprise with the Page of Cups. And then we get the Tower card, you know, big shakeup. And there's something wrong with his heart, the Three of Swords. And we get the Ten of Wands, big burdens that he's going to have to bear. And we get loss, the Five of Cups. So this doesn't look good. So anyhow, odd dream. Hopefully I don't have it again. Um, anyhow, if you want to check out Ann and I's channel, I will put the link there. There's no videos currently, but there will be a video within a little while. Hopefully later tonight. Okay, thank you.